So guys, Think Tank has gone full liberal retard and basically listed the AfD, or the Alternative for Germany, I know it doesn't make sense, we'll get to that in a sec, as a bunch of Nazis. Now at the end of the day guys, they're not alone. Everybody is branding this party far-right nationalist Nazis and basically just crucifying them with everything they've got. The problem with that is this party, to me, isn't that far-right. But that will be another video because there's a lot of bullshit about them. So then this video we're going to go through, have a look at the Think Tank video, correct all their mistakes, and then pop a champagne bottle.
Hey guys, welcome back to Think Tank. Hannah and Jason here. So in case you missed it, there was a German election over the weekend.
And didn't people lose their shit? Mainly because of the AfD party actually won 12.4, I think, percent of the votes, actually giving them like 90 votes in the House. They actually did really well, and the mainstream media is losing their shit, but we'll get to that later.
Now, oftentimes we might not pay as close attention to international elections as we probably should, but this one is pretty notable because one, it was pretty uncertain whether Angela was going to get her 4th consecutive term, which she did. She did win this election as Chancellor of Germany.
And the funny thing is, in this whole video, they do not tell you how much her support dropped. Yes, it dropped from 42% down to 33%. When they say she won the election, we're talking about her just managing to win the election to stay in power. In fact, the major reason that people say that she lost so much support was because of her stance on immigrants. People are sick of having problems, having immigrants come to their country and getting raped, murdered, killed, shot, robbed, all the sort of issues that go with immigration. But she's like, welcome to Germany, and everybody else is like, no, go away.
That was one component of it, but the second component of it was seats in the parliament. And so I really want to focus on that today because I do think it is really important, because we're starting to see a major trend around the world, here in the United States, with really far right groups in France, in Italy, and in Germany. Now, the preliminary exit polls indicate that the AfD, or Alternative for Germany, is now the 3rd biggest party after Angela Merkel's Christian Democratic Union, CDU, and the Social Democratic Party, SPD.
The funny thing is that this should resonate with the globalists that want to push immigration, but they just keep running to it blindly. They don't realize people aren't for this shit. Yeah, it's great that you can travel to Europe with a passport and not have to worry about getting porters or passports or checks or anything like that. But at the end of the day, no one wants their country swamped by millions of refugees unless you're far left progressive. Like, it doesn't matter how many mainstream actors or NFL players the deep state employ, not the globalists aren't going to win this. Nobody wants their country overrun by a bunch of people that will rape you, murder you, or kill you because they have an ideological difference to what you are. And yes, I know, before the keyboard warriors jump on and go, it's not all Muslims. Yes, you're right, it's not. But there's a large portion that are.
It's actually the largest percentage at 12.6, gained by a far-right party in Germany since the Nazis, 43.91% in 1933. Now, weeks after that vote, Nazi party leader Adolf Hitler enacted laws that gave him plenary power. Now, while Germany has seen numerous far-right parties following the collapse of Nazi Germany in 1945, this is the first time a far-right party has entered the German parliament since 1945. And in pretty big numbers, I think it's something like 94 seats or something like that. Like, it is a serious issue.
I was actually watching a documentary, I think it was by the BBC a couple of nights ago, and they were talking about the German politics. Now, this was very much before the AfD won and everybody started going sick hell. But at the end of the day, basically the thing they were saying in this documentary was that the AfD are the only party that doesn't actually have someone in them that is linked to the Nazi party. All the other parties, including the Christian party, actually have people who are linked to the Nazi party in their actual party. The AfD is the only ones that don't. So it's funny how everybody goes on about these guys being the Nazis, but they're the only ones that don't actually have link to Nazism. So work that one out. But I'll try and find that video, I'll try and find a file on it, and I'll upload it because it was actually quite an interesting thing.
And I got a lot of flack for calling this party Nazis, basically, over the weekend when these exit polls numbers did come in.
If you're getting a lot of flack for something, that might make you sit there and think, well, hang on, maybe I'm wrong. No, this one just doubles down and makes a video on it instead. Poof! Brain just exploded. But guys, like I said, yeah, at the end of the day, the AFD, the only thing that people don't really like about this party is they're tough on immigration. Holy shit, that makes them Nazis. Nazis, Nazis! Oh my god, it's insane. But yeah, I've read their manifesto. That's basically it. They don't want to let in millions of refugees. And all of a sudden we're all screaming Nazis at the top of our lungs. Go figure. Work that one out.
But the truth of the matter is they kind of are, right? They have Nazi ideology. They ran on a completely anti-immigrant and Islamophobic platform.
What? Say that again? Because I think I just missed something. Hang on, let's back it up.
But the truth of the matter is they kind of are, right? They have Nazi ideology. They ran on a completely anti-immigrant and Islamophobic platform. And on a completely anti-immigrant and Islamophobic platform.
And on a completely anti-immigrant and Islamophobic platform.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class! Do you believe in a flying spaghetti monster too, Bubblehead?
How does that make you a Nazi? By not wanting millions of illegal refugees into your country, how does that make you a Nazi? Nazis wanted the ultimate white race. They wanted to go through and commit mass genocide, and all of a sudden that equals not wanting immigrants. Is that how far the left have gone? That they've completely lost the plot and they're now rewriting definitions? Because I'm sorry, not wanting immigrants into your country that some of them attack, rape, murder, whatever it may be, or committing mass genocide now apparently equal the same thing. No, it's not. You're a retard. You need a fucking CAT scan.
And it's super ironic because one, Germany has been one of the best acceptors and biggest acceptors of Syrian refugees, which I applaud them for.
So let me get this straight. The biggest acceptor of refugees, the country that has accepted one of the most amounts of refugees, all of a sudden is voting for a party that is tough on immigration. Do you think that maybe these two things are linked? Maybe the people of Germany have seen all these immigrants come into their country, causing all sorts of problems, all sorts of terrorist attacks and everything else under the sun, and thought, shit, maybe we don't want this anymore, and then voted for a party that was tough on immigration. Considering that this is the only party that is actually tough on immigration. All the other parties are left. All the other parties are like, open borders, everybody come. This is the only party that actually wanted to close the border. And by the way, when she says they won a few extra votes, yeah, they stole 1 million votes from Merkel. They also got 1 million votes from people who don't actually turn up to vote generally. They've actually got 1 million people off their ass to go and vote for the first time, or one of the first times, who don't normally vote. That's how much people are voting for these guys. Do you think that maybe there is a problem there, that maybe the immigration is a big issue and that you don't see it because you're not living in Germany or a country that is accepting a lot of immigrants? Why don't you go and live in Syria for a year? See what that's like. I bet you won't.
But the people that voted for the AFD, who were the most Islamophobic and anti-refugee and anti-immigrant, are in areas within Germany where they actually don't have a lot of immigrants and things like that. So
interesting you should say that, because I'm going to put up 2 maps on the screen. Someone please tell me where Germany doesn't have a lot of immigrants. Okay, that said, also have a look at the voting areas on the south and in the east of Germany. Now, to explain these two maps, the one on the right is actually the AfD voting share, and I really shouldn't have put them on the right, should I? Regardless, and the one on the left is the immigration areas for Germany. Now, I will grant it, there are some areas on the left side where they didn't get a high vote and they do have a lot of immigration. But even in those areas, they still managed to get 0 to 10%. But the majority of the areas that seem to vote for them and have high migration, have a look at the south of Germany. They got around 20 to 30% of the vote. Also, look on the east as well. Sure, slightly less migration, but also still fair bit of migration on there. Your quote was, these areas don't have high amounts. Really? That's what you're going to claim now? Because that to me looks like it's a complete load of shit. It looks like migration in Germany is out of control, and that the whole of Germany has had a massive migration, and that the only people that didn't vote for this party were the people on the left of the actual Germany. Looks like centre, right, south, everybody else has voted for him in some capacity or another. Then also we get to this. Now this is a quote from a lady in her 60s who used to not vote at all. She explains why she voted for the AfD. Old people don't dare leave their house after 6 o'clock, she says. I live in such a beautiful place, but when I open the door, the first thing I see is headscarves. Then I go to the tram and I see groups of young men. Does that sound like a girl to you that isn't in a mass migration area that voted for the AfD? No, it doesn't. It sounds like a girl who literally leaves her home at night, or leaves her home in general, and is swamped by mass migration in her area. And that is why she listed that she voted for the AfD. But you guys seem to think that these two things are unrelated. Really?
It's kind of similar to the United States, right? Where in certain parts of middle America, where people are very scared of people of different colors, of people of different religion, things like that, are oftentimes the most homogenous. And so you're very scared of, frankly, what you don't know, right, and what you don't experience. And so I heard this news and I was angered, right? Because as a Jew and as a human, you don't want to hear that Nazis are rising to power again, both in the United States and in Germany. Like, that's really, really scary.
And this is the problem with the left. They have literally reduced the definition of a Nazi to someone who is tough on immigration. That, according to them, is what a Nazi is these days. I'm sorry. This is a Nazi. This isn't a Nazi. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, he's not a freaking Nazi. And this is why you lose elections. Because at the end of the day, you are playing identity politics and you're literally running around claiming that people are Nazis. When they're not. The actual figure for Nazis in America is close to a few thousand. That is it. People that want white genocide, that is a Nazi. People that want to go through and mass extinct a race of people that are Jews or that are blacks or whatever, that is a Nazi. Donald Trump just wants to be tough on immigration. And apparently, according to you, that lumps them all together.
It's scary, and as you being a Jew and a woman, and me being black and gay, I don't want to hear that shit either.
Yeah.
The irony of this statement is that if you were to ask him, was he okay with Muslim migration, he would probably go, yeah! Meanwhile, they want to throw you off a fucking roof. So this guy is completely fine with a Muslim religion idea, whatever you want to call it, to throw him off a roof for being gay, but he's not okay with a party or a group that's tough on immigration. This is the left. This is your brain on leftism. Please, someone find a cure for it.
But you said you received flack for pretty much calling it is what it is,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things kind of that really kind of just doesn't sit well with me today is that people are they live under this banner of avoidance and this banner of I don't want to touch that because of this or that reason. But if they're sharing the same ideologies as a group of people that slaughtered 6 million people, that have hate speech, that don't want to mix with people that are not like them, then that's what they are. We should call a spade a spade. I mean.
But that's the issue with your statement, is they're not saying they don't want to hang around people because they're Muslim. They are simply saying they don't want people coming to their country in mass immigration. They don't want mass immigration into their country from people that haven't been vetted, that haven't been checked out, and that probably are war criminals or ISIS fighters or whatever it may be. Here is a map of the issues in Germany at the moment. This is a map of crimes from Germany. In fact, in 2015, 2 years ago, they were actually expecting crimes committed by migrants to exceed 400,000. Migrants committed 208,344 crimes in 2015, according to a confidential police report that leaked to German newspapers. The figures represent an increase of over 80% from 2014 and works out to around 570 frigging crimes committed by migrants every day. And you cannot figure out why people are voting for the AfD. I might have a guess.
Don't understand why people are so angry. Like, the AfD people are angry and they're scared and they're frustrated. And so what I'm realizing is it's just because they don't have contact, they don't have interaction, they're not knowledgeable, they're not being informed about why it's important that we bring Syrian refugees in and things like that.
Oh, okay, please let me know why it is important for us to accept Syrian refugees. I would love to know the answer to this question. Also, I want to know, how many have you personally housed in your apartment? Because I'm going to guess the answer is probably none. So please, inform me. Please lecture me and everybody else on why it's important to accept these refugees after you do not accept them yourself.
I actually had a really fortuitous Lyft drive home last night, and the driver was saying how he stopped informing himself. He stopped watching the news at the end of the election cycle last year. He just stopped reading at all, okay?
Okay, my question on this is, did he stop reading the news or watching the news, or did he stop informing himself on facts? Because there is two major differences on this. If you do not watch mainstream media or watch or listen to mainstream news, that doesn't mean that you're not informing yourself. That just simply means that you are sick of mainstream media or mainstream news bashing Trump every day of the week for every hour of the day, so to speak, and you got sick of it and you turned it off. That doesn't mean he's not watching YouTube videos or reading articles from other sources. That just simply means he's not watching mainstream news. And I'll bet you now you're not going to clarify the difference in those two. Because I bet you find while he's stopped watching mainstream news, he still is watching YouTube videos or getting his information from somewhere else. He's just not tuning into mainstream TV.
So he just completely just went off the grid and keeping up with his news. And so I was like, okay, like, to each their own, right? Like, I don't agree with that, but to each their own. And then he said, but you know what? Like, I really like some of the stuff that Trump is doing.
Well, to be honest, this just kind of proves my point, because if he's not following mainstream news or if he's not keeping up with the current affairs, how does he know exactly what Trump is doing? if he's keeping up to date with what the President of the United States of America is actually doing, he has to be getting his news from somewhere. Like I said, chances are he's not tuning into mainstream news. Which, to be honest, if you're talking about CNN, NBC, and the like, I'm not surprised. I can't stand to watch those programs for 5 minutes. They literally call CNN the Clinton News Network. That's how corrupt CNN, or how CNN is on the take, or pro-Hillary. Like, can you blame him for not watching those programs?
I was like, wait, you just said you don't read anymore. He's like, and I was like, okay, like what? Let's have a conversation for it. Like, and he said, I like that he's not letting all of these mass refugees in without even like, looking at their qualifications and where they're from and what they've done.
Oh my God, the nerve of the President of the United States of America not letting mass migration into his country from a group of people from different countries without vetting them. Oh my God! The horror! Because everybody has a right to move to the United States regardless of where they're from, right? Well, no, not really. Actually, migrating to a country isn't actually a right, it's a privilege. Something that you actually don't have to worry about because chances are you were born in America. For example, if you were to migrate to Mexico, for example, and you were to do it illegally, they would send your ass back to America. Like I said, it's not a right, it is a privilege. That is something the young millennials of this world do not seem to understand.
And so for me, I was frustrated by that, but then I realized, okay, this person just admitted that they're ill-informed, right? And then they're saying something that is just completely not factual whatsoever.
How is it not factual? You literally, the millennials, the left, the progressive left, has been screaming autistically for the past 8 months or 9 months about Trump not allowing refugees into this country. That was his statement. He likes the fact that Trump just doesn't let in refugees without vetting them. That's his statement, and you are claiming that he's not informed. So you're going to tell me the last 9 months of autistic screaming from you guys or from the progressive left has been over nothing? Or was it the cab driver was actually right and that he was actually informed? And at the end of the day, like I said before, just because he's not tuning into mainstream news or because he's not watching the news anymore, which was his original statement, doesn't mean he's ill-informed. It just simply means he's not getting his news from that program or from the news, the mainstream news. There's a difference.
But it's rooted in a fear, right? And so I think with education and understanding of where this fear comes from, we can start to shift the tide a little bit and hopefully stop seeing this rise of Nazism around the world.
Hannah, you make a very good point with it. I do think that with education, knowledge is power, and like Oprah says, when you know better, you do better. But here's the issue that people have, though. They don't. You can't force someone to educate themselves. This man, this Uber driver, said that he fell off the grid and stopped educating himself.
I like the fact now, because you don't tune into mainstream news, you're ill-informed. Hannah, I dare you, debate me. I have not watched mainstream news in over 5 to 10 years. Debate me, where we'll see who's ill-informed. And we'll see who loses the debate. Because I tell you now, you'll be very surprised. Just because someone isn't sitting there watching mainstream news on TV or whatever it may be, doesn't mean they are ill-informed. And just because someone sits there and watches propaganda, which is what mainstream news is, that doesn't also mean they're informed.
So it's like he willingly doesn't want to put effort into being aware and present of what's going on. So yeah, I think it's a noble notion that education, knowing is winning, and you should, and you also said that was really good, is that people are afraid. They're afraid. So when you're afraid of something, the last thing you want to do is engage in it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, he didn't say he's afraid. The AFD, as far as I know, they're not afraid of Muslims or Syrian refugees or this mass migration. They just simply don't want it. At the end of the day, if I go to dinner, say I go to my parents' place and my parents are cooking dinner and my mum says to me, we're having tacos tonight, would you like some? And I say, no, I don't like that. I don't like eating tacos. I love tacos, but just say. That doesn't mean I'm afraid of tacos. It's just, if I go to my parents for lunch and they say, we're having chicken sandwiches, would you like one? No thanks, I don't want a chicken sandwich. Doesn't mean I'm afraid of a chicken sandwich. It just simply means that I do not want it. There is a big difference in those two statements.
People are lazy when it comes to politics. They're lazy when it comes to the issues because if it doesn't affect them directly, why do they care? Why should I care? Especially if you are not part of a marginalized group of people. Let's say you are, no, I'm not even gonna say that because that'll piss people off. But let's say things that are happening within our world are not directly affecting you. Why should you care? Especially, and if you're not a person that is compassionate or empathetic, then you have no reason to. It takes more effort to care.
I agree on the fact that some people, if not most, are lazy when it comes to politics. The fact that a lot of people do not do their own research and they go through and just watch the news and believe everything that they're getting told. I completely accept and will actually agree to that, yes. Most of them CNN viewers though. But that's what I say. Obviously, mainstream media, most people that view and watch, I think it was CNN, 60%, I think I saw in the latest graph, shows that they still believe CNN. So at the end of the day, it was like, well, that's 60% of the audience that still believes everything they've been told by CNN. That to me is lazy. The fact that you don't go out and challenge things, you don't go out and read reports, you don't go out and get alternative facts. That to me, completely agree, is lazy.
Yes, I mean, I'm in the thought category that you should care about the human race, regardless of whether it affects you or not, and care about social issues and things like that. But I understand where you're coming from, and I think the thing for a lot of people is that listening to this, they feel oftentimes that the information is too, like, it's discombobulating, right? Like they're getting so many different stories and they don't know what to believe and it stresses them out.
Yep, I totally agree. There is a lot of different opinions. For example, if you tune into Fox News, say we use the healthcare bill, for example, Obama repeal. If you tune into Fox News, they say on about how it's the best thing that it's been repealed. Tune into CNN, they go on and say that it's complete bullshit, that it shouldn't be repealed, that this is wrong. So how can two different programs have the exact same point regarding the exact same thing? That's because they're both propaganda. And this is where mainstream media is. It is a huge propaganda thing. It is a propaganda machine for the powers that be. And, I'm not going to go strapping on a tinfoil hat here, but at the end of the day, you want to go through, you want to watch Fox News and CNN, or not so much CNN, but NBC or whatever it may be. You get the two different opinions, and then you go out and you research it yourself. And that is being informed to me. Going out and challenging facts and finding out the actual truth and not just believing what some glorified telecaster is actually reading you on TV.
And so what I think we need to do is not force them to hear the information in the way that we want them to hear the information and to educate them the way that we want to. It's more about figuring out how best to reach these people and how best to talk to them in a way that they feel is approachable and a way that they feel is not going to stress them out, but hopefully enlighten them into the amazing things that different cultures and people can bring into their society, and that a society filled with hate and fear and divisiveness is much more scary than the one that we currently live in.
So she went on for a little bit there. So just to clarify, I don't think people that are against immigration are hateful. I think people that are against illegal immigration respect the laws, they respect their country, and they don't want mass immigration. That to me isn't hateful. To me, that is just simply wanting to vet people that go and live in your country. You don't want a whole bunch of war criminals living in your country. You're going to tell me, Hannah, that you would be completely fine after the fall of Germany in World War II, that you would have been completely fine with Adolf Hitler living next to you? Of course not. And there is no difference between Hitler and Germany World War II and ISIS fighters. And I'm sorry, but most of the people that are coming over with these refugees are men. 95% are adult men. And yeah, there is great things that come with multiculturalism. I love Chinese food, Sri Lankan food, Indian food, all those sort of foods. Doesn't mean I'm against immigration. I just simply want someone who comes into the country who will actually respect our laws and be a product or a someone who will benefit to society, not cause issues, not cause dramas, and who will not cause violence. And I think that is completely acceptable. But you don't, for some reason. And that's basically the end of it. Now she's just going on about how, let's figure it out. Let's figure out how to do it. Yay! It's all, yeah, it's huggy-feely shit. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you think with Think Tank? Did you agree with them? Do you think I made some valid points? Do you think they made some valid points? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and we'll have a general conversation. Apart from that, guys, if this video has been helpful, please smack a like. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. And apart from that, guys, I will see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great day and enjoy.